Alright, I'm about to get mad. We are going to be reacting to Anthony Fantano's Dark Twisted Fantasy Redux review. Now, I haven't really seen all of this, so I'm going to react to it, and I'm going to give my feedback to what Anthony Fantano has to say. I think, I already know what he rated it. He gave it a 6 out of 10, which is just insane. Stupid, in my opinion. But, we're going to see his reasoning, and yeah, let's get into it.
Hi everyone, Anthony Review Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a Redux review of the Kanye West album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. The critically acclaimed 2010 album from one of hip-hop's most polarizing figures ever, Kanye West.
It's Ye! I know at the time he recorded this it wasn't, but...
I am now reviewing it for a second time for a few reasons. 1, my original review is easily my most infamous review. 2, covering it again has been a consistent request among my viewers, especially since I did a Redux review of the life of Pablo, because the mix and the track list of the record had changed since my original review of it, which I thought vastly improved the album. There have been no such changes to this record, though. 3, this YouTube channel recently hit 2 million subscribers, and in a weird way, I thought this would be a fun way to celebrate that. And finally, it's now been about 10 years since this LP originally came out. Over that span of time, I've come to hold quite a bit of respect for the place this album holds in Kanye's discography. A creative bounce back from one of the most tumultuous periods in his life. A major second wind to his career. And a gateway to the more manic and unpredictable side of his discography. It's for all these reasons
I think Dark Twisted Fantasy is not only one of my favorite Ye albums just because it's definitely not my favorite. It's like, for me, Ye is one of the greatest artists of all time. So when I think of his albums, like, it's very hard for me to rank, but I don't think Dark Twisted Fantasy is in my top 3. But I just love the tone of Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like, it is a dark fantasy. Like you hear at the end of Power, like, this would be a beautiful death. Like, he's fantasizing hell of a life. I just think, like, the whole tone of the album is, like, I don't know. First of all, the album itself feels so rich. Like, it just feels so, like, exquisite, almost. Like, not to be glazed or anything. Like, yeah, it's not a perfect, like, there's things about the album that I don't like that much. The only thing that I don't like about the album, personally, is Chris Rock's part of Blame Game. That's it. But Blame Game is still one of my favorite songs off the album.
That My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is worth revisiting now, and maybe even 10 years further down the road too. I guess we'll see. So Kanye West hails from the city of Chicago, but this record is not about his humble beginnings as a soul-chopping hometown hero or a Jay-Z protege.
Yeah, that was his first 3 albums.
Instead, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is an extravagant depiction of the high-profile, high-drama celebrity lifestyle Kanye envisioned himself transitioning into after the loss of his mother, after the Taylor Swift interruption at the VMAs, after advancing to become one of hip-hop's most in-demand artists. And the concept of this album is spelled out in the title, in the album's opening lyrics. It's not a bland reality, it's a dark, twisted fantasy. One Kanye has been dreaming of since his days in Chicago. One that is as imaginary as Nicki Minaj's fake storybook British accent on the intro. But of course there are elements of the album that dwell on the wealth and excess of Kanye's current day, and the way his ego and persona as well as love life ties into that. But still, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is more like a glimpse into a future that kind of came into fruition for Kanye, with him since marrying into the Kardashian clan, allowing his celebrity profile to grow larger in scope than his profile as a musician. From what of it we're exposed to in the media, Kanye's current day is definitely dark, and arguably beautiful as well. But the fantasy he imagined here on this record pales in comparison to the life we have seen as the audience play out in the headlines of the past several years, of the lyrics of Ye or the life of Pablo. I was sort of bored by its portrayal in my original review, and it seems like even less of a big deal now that Ye's life has wound up in a place even his wildest imagination here only began to scratch the surface of. But I guess this record isn't just about the narrative or the concept of fame behind it. It's also about the features, the rapping, the...
Well, so the album's about all of it. I mean, the album itself is about like the side effects of ego, his Dark Twisted Fantasy, like, you know, everything. I feel like the album is everything under the ego. Like the ego is what he brings out, but the album is everything inside. And the ego is blended a little bit inside of that. Like you see glimpses of ego on songs like Monster, on songs like even So Appalled. But the main album is about what's underneath that and his fantasy life. Like this isn't about his life. It's about like his not his emotions. It's about things that are inside of him that he has basically like experienced. Like so the dark fantasy to me throughout this album is his own death. I think at the end of Power, his dark fantasy is him dying. And I think it's a beautiful, like he's like, oh, this would be a beautiful death. So I don't know. I think it's, now you can go about it like, oh yeah, but I don't like some of the songs on here. I just don't see it like that. First of all, I think the songs are fire. But second of all, I think just the whole idea of it, I think it's kind of sad. I do think it is a sad album, even though you have a really upbeat songs up on here. Like, I think songs like Hell of a Life are hella sad. I think songs like All of the Lights are kind of sad, like when you really dive into it.
The instrumentals, it's the total package. Or at least that's the reputation this album has grown to have. And of course I was interested to see how those elements aged to my ears over the past decade or so. Still to this day, I would say that Dark Fantasy ranks as one of the best openers to any hip-hop record this decade.
I
with
agree.
its grand and glamorous and stunning piano chords, with its flawlessly arranged chorus of vocals from Justin Vernon and Tiana Taylor. It's an odd but angelic sound. Can we get much higher? Is just like a beautiful moment on the record that I think also expresses the theme and the idea of the concept here in that...
Well, what it's talking about, and I'm sure Anthony's going to get into this, but what it's talking about is like, can we get much richer? Can we get more famous? Can we get happier? Because as Ye explained on Pinocchio's story, like all of this money and everything that he has, like it can't equate to the feeling of having a family, having his mother back. So can we get much higher? And I truly think it's Ye asking himself that. And I think the whole album kind of revolves around this song in the way of like, it feels like a Taylor Swift moment, for example. He says on the song, what's worse, the pain or the hangover? So he, you know, the famous alcohol that he used at the VMAs, he was using to cope with the pain of the loss of his mother, the breakup with his ex-fiance. So what's worse, the pain of dealing with that or the pain of dealing with the repercussions of your actions after you try to cope with that?
We've reached another echelon, a new height of popularity, of fame, of bliss, of euphoria, of extravagance. The beat on this track, once it drops, is absolutely mad. The jangly chimes, the steady kicks and snares, the dusty, wheezing two-note interval melody that sounds like, I don't know, an old Mellotron or something. The way the instrumental thickens up on the second verse, though, the bridge, which is quite ominous too, is great. It's one decadent epic passage after another, and some of my favorite Kanye bars end up on this track too. From the classic aside of, "You ain't got no fucking Yeezy and Serato," to more revealing lines that I think get to the heart of Kanye's personality, like, "Me found bravery in my bravado." There's also excellent strings here, like, "The plan was to drink until the pain over, but what's worse, the pain or the hangover? Fresh air rolling down the window. Too many Urkels on your team. That's why your win's low."
Love Roblox?
I don't love Roblox.
Earn Roblox
I
digital
don't.
gift
I don't
cards
care
with
about
Microsoft Rewards.
Roblox.
I loved that the first time I heard it. I still love it now. However, like any great Ye track, there is going to be a stinker or two, and I think he does meet that quota. Sleepy Hollow which is known for being the home of the headless horseman, No Head. Maybe one could interpret this as Kanye saying something about having lost his mind, but Kanye oral sex bars tend to not work in that many layers anyway. Whatever few lyrical duds there are on this track, though, it's easily made.
Well, because it's also relating, like, head, obviously, like, haha, joke, funny, to his big head, like, his ego.
Up for by how amazing the instrumental is, by the cold and confident flow that Kanye delivers all of this with. He sounds like he's in a place where...
Because if you know Ye, like, he's always had, like issues with, like, pornography and explicit ways of thinking like that, which is crazy because he's also one of the only artists that's not in the Epstein files, so
he doesn't have to do too much to prove himself. The following Gorgeous, though, is a track that to this day I'm still kind of torn on. Without a doubt, it is a special point on the record, thanks mostly to its hefty helping of vocal distortion and Kid Cudi's ghostly, haunting chorus.
Dude, Gorgeous is one of my favorite Ye songs in general, bro. I don't know.
On the cut. And part of me likes how stark and minimal and bare the entire track is, but the faint instrumental over the song's 6-minute runtime just does not do enough for me. The drums.
But the lyrics do. Like, Ye's rapping. I know a lot of people don't like the distortion on his voice, but that's there for a reason. Like, this whole album is subliminal. Like, I don't know, dude. I think Gorgeous is phenomenal.
The guitar, the very quiet chords in the background, it's all just a little too faint. It doesn't make for that strong of a sonic foundation. However, Kanye does drop 3 monstrous verses loaded with quotables and food for thought, where he's boldly touching down on things like paranoia and racial discrimination. The first section of the first verse on this thing is easily...
It's a very Kendrick-like song, and it was made before Kendrick. I think this song is Ye just, I don't know, kind of on his fucking A game. Like, it's some of his best rapping performance. I think No More Parties in LA is his best rapping, or 2 words, but I think this is like one of his best songs ever, just pure bars.
One of the most impressive displays of lyricism across Kanye's entire discography. Penitentiary Chances, The Devil Dances, obviously a commentary on the likelihood and statistics that people of color face in terms of landing in prison, and eventually Answer to the Call of Autumn, Things Being in Decline, linking into that by saying, all of them fallen, autumn, fall, for the love of ballin', that fast, money-making, quick, and illegal lifestyle driving people into a position where they have 30 rocks in their pocket, and the cop arresting them looks like Alec Baldwin, basically displaying that racial divide there between those being arrested in and those initiating the drug war. So not only is all of this deeply poetic and clever, but it feels so weird listening back to this because current day Kanye seems so far removed from making any of these kinds of greater connections between oppression, inequity, racial disparities in the justice system. It was even kind of funny going back listening.
Wait, this is made in 2020. No, he would definitely sell. I mean, I get it with the red hat. That's like one of the things that I don't know how I can support Ye on that. But no, in 2020, I feel like even now, like, he's definitely growing as a human right now.
To his initial lyrics on So Appalled, where he says, I'm so appalled, Spalding Ball, balding Donald Trump, taking dollars from y'all. Not only making fun of Donald Trump's stupid hairstyle, but acknowledging the man,
I love that
man's
bar.
A fucking scammer. People will often say, hey, what happened to the Kanye that said George Bush doesn't care about black people? When honestly, this is the Kanye I want to know where he is. Where is this Kanye right now? Because this is easily one of the most damning commentaries on the black community and the American government's treatment of it on almost any modern rap record. Lyrically, the rest of Gorgeous just gets better from here, in my opinion, although it kind of starts to wear out its welcome once we get to the Raekwon feature, even though there is a bit of an instrumental change-up at this point in the track. Lyrically, I don't think Raekwon does enough, even though he's, I mean, a goddamn legend, to reinforce all the lyrical themes that Kanye has been working with up until this point in the song. At the time when I first reviewed it, Power was maybe my favorite track from the record, one of the best songs of 2010, and and I still pretty much feel that way now. In fact, I think there were a lot of ideas here that have only gotten better with age.
Power's
the
amazing.
Iconic vocal chants at the start, the amazing King Crimson
sample,
the chunky boom bap drums. The whole thing sounds larger than life. And Ye's lyrics ingeniously depict him on a power trip of sorts. He sounds like a power-hungry madman on this track. I also love
I think Power is one of the most genius songs of the past 30 years. Like, Power, like, you feel like a super villain listening to that shit. Like, at the end, where it's like you hear all the instrumentals in your ears, and then you hear the laughing, and it's like, turn that phone, searching. And then like the song ends that like shock, like that guitar sounds like a shockwave, bro. It's amazing. I also love the beautiful death part, jumping out the window. It feels so like divine. Oh, it's so good.
Bars on this track too, where he is rapping about grown-up thoughts intruding on his childlike.
Oh, that's like one of my favorite parts, where he's like taking these in a child. Like, it's so good. Like, especially when, you know, he's talking about, like, the creativity, like, he wants, like, that creativity of a child, but these grown thoughts are, like, intercepting it, and it's just so peak.
Honesty and wanting to have a custody battle to fight for that. Are the SNL bars on this track kind of petty? Sure. And do I wish the words Colin Powell's Austin Powers never came out of his mouth? Yes. No matter how generously you try to interpret that. Still, I'll take it with a side of cello. Thank you. So one of my favorites on the album here contrasts in the track list with one of my least favorites, and that is All of the Lights. More than ever, I think the track sounds like a tone-deaf comedy of errors. For one, the mastering on this song is awful. It sounds compressed to death. Why are the drums this blown out? I like the little horn line on this track. That's great. And I love Rihanna's.
All of the Lights is an insane... It's not one of my favorites on the album just because I feel like it's like kind of just like the most like I don't know. It's kind of the most like pale songs on the album. But dude, sonically, his bars are great. You know, he's talking in the perspective of someone else. He's not even talking in the perspective of himself. The whole song is insane. That is insane for Fantano to say. I did not expect that. I expected All of the Lights to be like one of his favorites just because the production on this is insane. I don't really like Fergie's part of the song that much. But I think she makes up for it at the end where Rihanna comes in and it sounds beautiful. I think this song is amazing. That is crazy.
A slick hook on the song too. But it's not enough to make up for Kanye's preposterous performance and lyrics on the track. From slovenly singing to the terrible word association in the pre-chorus. Cop!
Does he...
Lights, flash, lights.
You're hating on that?!
Light. And I...
Fantano. Dude. Listen. I understand. It's one of his most popular songs. Okay? When that beat is kicked in and it's like, all of the lights, cop lights, flash lights, strobe lights, street lights, and then Rihanna like, all of the light, all of them coming in. It's so beautiful and amazing. What? This is insane. Also, look at this freeze frame. But, dude, hating on all of the lights like that's just crazy. That's just crazy. You're sounding like 2022 Ye right now. Okay? I'm not going to say 2025 Ye. That's a little far, but, you know.
I can't help but feel as if the lyrics in the verses here trivialize the domestic abuse scandals that we often see come from celebrity circles and are highly...
That's what it is. It's not Ye talking about himself. It's talking about the industry and the people in the industry.
Publicized in the media. The lyrics are less about the abuse and more about bad things happening to the protagonist being inconvenienced or...
No, because it's about his ego at the same time. Like... He's talking the perspective of the protagonist and feeling sorry for himself. That's what he's talking about. That's the point of the song! About how the lights get to you. You always think you're right. The power trip, the ego. Like, bro!
Made to go through some sort of struggle as a result of their very bad decisions, which to me sounds okay. Bad things should happen to domestic abusers.
Yes,
However,
100%.
that is not the tone of the track. Being
Exactly.
generous, you could say the true meaning of this song is that having your life in the limelight often exposes your lowest points, your most embarrassing points, your worst decisions to the widest amount of people. But there's maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 dozen different ways that one could portray that idea without minimizing the suffering and the experiences of...
But that's the point, Fantano! Come on, bro. Tell me you understand. I hope Fantano watches this video. That's the point of the song!
Abuse victims. So even though I appreciate maybe there's a lot going on in this song conceptually and instrumentally, to my ears, it's a horrid mess. And a little bit misguided, too.
Oh my
We then
God.
get the Star-Studded Monster, a track that is known for its long run of features from Rick Ross to Jay-Z to Nicki Minaj to Bon Iver. And there are a lot of things I like about it. I like its freakish attitude. I like its dark energy. I like its sinister vocal intro, the war drums and the beat. Also some of the wilder asides from Kanye in his verse. Put the pussy in the sarcophagus.
I love Ye's
Put the
bars.
pussy in the sarcophagus, okay? Just do it. The hook is super slick, and the point of this track isn't too far off from what Kanye was also trying to communicate on Power, how his life, his ego, his persona, his fame has transformed him into something bigger, but also kind of maniacal, something beyond just his simple human form. But listening to it more times, more years down the road, what's not sitting too well with me are the features. I do like how Rick Ross's husky voice sounds on the beat
I don't
here.
really like Rick Ross in the song, I will say. And I also don't like the roar on it that much, to be honest. It's a great song. Like, you can't listen to a song that sounds like this. Like, there is no song that sounds like this. But I don't know. Like, I like Nicki's and Ye's part. Jay's part is alright. It's a little overhated, but I don't know.
Good intro. But vocally, I think Jay kind of undershoots it. His lyricism is on point, though. I love the bar where he says he sees dudes he's made millionaires milling about, spilling their feelings in the air. That was a really smart point. But Nicki, by comparison, I think vastly overshoots it with all the inflection switch ups and the baby voice and the...
I actually agree with that. Crazy enough. Okay, Nicki's verse, hella impressive, obviously. But if I'm being honest, bro, I don't like all, like, it reminds me of, like, when comedians, like, try to do, like, voice acting shit. Or not voice acting, but, like, they, like, on their stand-up, like, sets, like, they, like, try to do, like, sound effects and shit. I don't know. I don't like niggas all, ah! Or, like, I don't really give a F-U-C-K. Forget. Like, I like the bars, but I just don't really like her. I don't know. So I will agree with Fantano on there, if that's what he's saying.
Oh, God, it's too much. And sadly,
Okay.
she doesn't have the
I agree.
lyricism to make up for just overdoing it. In that Tonka,
I think it equals each other
The
out.
Color of Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk color of Willy Wonka. Like, she has great
No.
flow.
So Appalled was a track originally when I reviewed this record, was a front runner for me, one of the best.
I agree with this Take On Monster a tad. I still think it's a pretty good track. It's a pretty solid track. Probably my least favorite track on the album. I still think every track on here is above an 8 out of 10 though. So, I don't know.
But I don't so much feel that way these days. The odd and lengthy Swizz Beats refrain on this track is still an earworm for me. Life can be sometimes ridiculous.
I can see
I still
that.
love the track's fuzzy, apocalyptic instrumentation. It is sinister as hell. But Kanye's putting Jay-Z features on here like they're going out of style. And the track really...
Jay-Z's part was good as hell on So Appalled. That's insane. Jay-Z had a great ass feature on So Appalled. I can't really say the same for Monster, but So Appalled, his feature is crazy. I actually love Jay-Z's part.
could have ended right before the Sci-Hi feature. It really could have finished there.
It
Not
could have.
only because it's the weakest
I
verse.
still think Sci-Hi had a decent verse, though. I mean, a lot of people hate on that verse. I think it's a clever verse. I mean, obviously, like, the May, March, April shit.
on the song. Ha, I'm so outrageous. I wear my pride on my sleeve like a bracelet. If God had an iPod, I'd be on his playlist. My phrases amazes the faces in places. Everything past
Yeah,
four-
it sounds ass when you say it, Fantano, because you got no flow. You gotta have the flow with it, bro.
40 on
I will say Sci-Hi did have the weakest verse on So Paul, but I think So Paul's still a 9 out of 10 song. The bar, like everyone coming in together to spit like 8 out of 10 verses. I think Jay-Z had like 9 out of 10 verses. I think it was great.
this track just feels like an unnecessary extension. Even the RZA appearance, I'm sad to say, as much as I love RZA, as much as I love Wu-Tang, it just doesn't add that much to the track. I mean, if you really wanted it to be here, then, I don't know, swap out one of the Swizz portions and then just tighten the track up, and it's so much better. And Pusha T, even though I like his feature on this track,
I don't really agree. Like, when I listen to this song, I'm listening to it all the way through. Like, I love everyone's part on this song. I will say, like, the end kind of drags out a little bit, but I like the whole song. Like, when I listen to this song, I'm looking for everyone's part. Like, I love everyone's verses on this shit.
it sort of illustrates a general lack of thematic cohesion between every single verse on the song. Sadly. I will say that Devil in a New Dress still sounds great after all these years, though. Not just because of the clever lyricism, of the smart rhyme patterns, but also the track feels like a very cool update on classic Kanye with its chopped up soul samples, with its sparse drums, with its gleaming strings. On this track, Kanye feels less like he's rapping and more like he's preaching or passionately ranting at some points, and just going on and on and on about temptation and lust.
Well, he's talking about like how the people in his life, mostly romantically, are really only in it for the money. He feels like his ego is his whole personality because everyone's really only looking at him for the money. No one really cares about who he is, so he's feeling like, well, who am I? You know? I think Devil in a New Dress is a sad song. Like, truly. Rick Ross comes in. I think Rick Ross's part is Ye's ego. Like, that's like, oh, looking at my bitch, I bet she get your ass a bone. Like, I don't even care that she's using me for the money. You know? Like, look at my bitch. And all that shit. Like, look at my money. I'm making love to the angel of death. But then, like, deep down, like, we hear a runaway. Like, he's like, run away from me. Like, just do yourself a favor, get away from me.
Desire. I love the buzzing Mike Dean guitar solo on this track,
oh, it's amazing.
Too. I don't think over the years he's gotten quite enough credit for being the musical technician he is for some of the greatest moments on this record. The Rick Ross feature at the very end, while not mind-blowing, is an appropriate placement, considering the lyrical themes here and the large, glamorous instrumentation. We then get...
Rick Ross's part is amazing. I'm not... Okay. I hope you've changed your opinion. Rick Ross's verse is... It's not glazed for the right reasons, in my opinion. But I still think it's phenomenal.
Runaway, which many people
you
consider to be Kanye's best song, the centerpiece of this album. And I certainly get why. The instrumental, for one, is great. That depressing, minimal piano line, the vaguely industrial and frigid drums and atmosphere, which all contrasts very well with the light and airy and elegant strings and synths placed throughout the track. The Pusha T feature is a nice touch too, but there is so much about this track that I still do not care for. For sure, I like the idea behind the song. Tragically finding yourself in a place where you can't love, you're a broken person, and you're telling this person who you care for to run away from you because you are busted. You can't keep a relationship together. It is very much...
That's not why! Not because he can't keep a relationship together, but because his ego is consuming him. You know, he sees his finances as his personality because that's how everyone else sees it. He sees the money, like the green in her eyes. That's his heart. His heart is the money at this point. His heart is the fame, the money, the women. That's who he sees. So whenever he finds someone, you know, that's not in it for the money, that actually does have a true heart, he's telling them to run away because he can't fix himself and he knows it. I think it's beautiful.
To the douchebags. It is heart-wrenching in that respect.
The song is a toast to the douchebags.
There are also some moments on this track where Kanye vocally is pretty decent, like on the hook, or that little passage just before the Pusha T feature. But generally, the lyrics and the singing on this track... She found pictures in my email. I sent this bitch a picture of my dick. It's embarrassing that
That's not Anthony, bro. Do you like understand the song? Like you're saying you understand the song, but I just don't see like any resemblance of you understanding the fucking song. I sent this bitch a picture of my dick because he's only in it for the physical attributes. That's what he's saying. He's saying that everyone is only in it with him for the money. He's like, well, if they're in it for the money, I'm in it for the physical attributes. You know, I'm in it for what I can like physically have, like the pussy, ass, like titty pics or anything like that. Like that's what he's saying. So he's saying I could have me a good girl. He could have a good girl, but he's just addicted to the hood rats because that's really only what he's experienced with all this newfound fame. Not newfound, but with all of this fame, he's only experienced people only in it with him for the money. So he's like, well, if you're in it for the money, I'm in it for the pussy. That's basically what he's saying.
he did it. It's embarrassing that he wrote it. It's embarrassing the way he sang it. I'm embarrassed that I'm talking about it. The verses on this
Oh my god, this pissed me off.
thing are not cute. They're not endearing. They're
not
not
supposed to be.
relatable.
They're not. Why? This is not a song that's supposed to be relatable. It's supposed to be relatable to douchebags like him. And I'm not saying. I mean, Ye can be a douchebag. He's my favorite artist of all time, though. But its song is a toast to the douchebags, Fantano. Do you like? I just feel like you just don't understand this song well enough. Maybe you do now. This was 6 years ago. I mean, I feel like if you did, you'd do another redux, but I don't know.
I would say they're kind of cringe. Also, the thin, horrid, distorted vocal solo that is manipulated, auto-tuned, vocoded, I'm not sure, at the very end of this thing, really wears out its welcome.
Oh my god, Anthony.
Very fast. It does not need to be that long. It is not interesting for even half the time.
It's beautiful. It's like, and I'm sure you know this, Fantano. It's him, like he's basically talking. We are the people that don't listen to him. Like his whole like auto tune, like that whole outro is basically him saying, "Y'all don't hear me when I talk, so I might as well just have a beautiful symphony, but you guys you don't hear what I'm saying ever." And I think that's how Ye has felt throughout his whole career. Like no one understands him. No one actually hears what he's saying. They just go say, "Oh, it's just Ye being Ye," and they don't actually understand him. And he's talking about us as like the fan base. He's talking about the industry, just like humanity, like not understanding or listening to him. And he's also talking about it throughout relationships. They don't listen to him. They are just there for the money, and he's just there for the physical attributes. So it's a toast to the douchebags again. Like you see this album cover. First of all, one of the girls from Runaway, ballet people, toasting. It's a toast to the douchebags. The whole album is revolved off of Runaway.
That it goes. If it was a guitar that was generating this sound, I would just say it sounds awful, but because it's a voice, I'm supposed to, wow, wow.
No, it's not just supposed to be beautiful. It is beautiful in my opinion. I love that. I'm never going to skip the outro of Runaway, but that's not what it's for.
Freak out. Hell of a Life was one of my least favorite Kanye tracks.
Oh my god, another person that doesn't get Hell of a Life. Fantano, listen, bro, I'm not trying to hate on you, okay? Because I do respect you. I do respect you, Fantano. Hell of a Life is one of the most slept on tracks of the whole album.
Ever when this thing came out, and that is still true to this day. Not only is the Black Sabbath Iron Man interpolation on this track terrible, but it sounds absolutely silly over these goofy Casio demo drums and farty-ass bass lines. Between this and the super speedy arpeggios that pop up in the beat here and there, the instrumental's a mess. What's worse is Kanye's
because his life is a mess. He's a mess. He is a mess. He is a mess. That's like, this song after Runaway, that's like him like coping with his own depression. I feel like it's like him being like, "Oh fuck it, I just want pussy anyways. I don't want a wife material girl. You know what? I just want all of this. Let's get married in a fucking bathroom." That's what he's saying throughout the song, and the instrumental is basically him kind of just trying to aura farm. And that's like the best way I can put it. He's trying to aura farm over the sadness, and I think it's kind of a beautiful track, but at the same time, I can understand like some of the mixing on this song is a tad off. It's a little bit weird, but I still like heavily enjoy this song. It is. I will say I've listened to this song a lot, and I don't listen to it much anymore. Like I'll revisit this album like once a week, but I mean I still think the song's amazing. I love the Iron Man whole like inspiration. Well, not inspiration. It's really just the part of Iron Man, but. And then like the it's electrifying. I love that part. But the deeper meaning behind the song is why I love the song.
Probably very real sex addiction legitimizes anything he thinks or could say about sex on the song, so he doesn't really edit himself when he thinks about writing about nuns coming, which I guess is cool if you're like an edgy death metal band or something, but and look, I'm not a prude when it comes to sex in music, but for a track about sex,
I usually am, because I hate when all people talk about is sex to flex it. Ye is not trying to talk about it to flex it. Because I watched Genius documentary, I think everyone has. Dude, for the longest time, Ye has had this whole addiction to stuff like pornography, like dirty magazines and shit like that, sex. But and in Runaway, he talks about having, problems with intimacy. So there's a difference between fucking and being intimate. That means like sex with love. So that's why Ye has a problem. That's where Ye feels just disconnected throughout this album. And I think that whole part of Runaway, the I can never get the intimacy, I think that's like one of the most important parts of this album because it really helps you understand it.
And one's need for it. It's not a sexy song, nor is it all that
supposed to be.
extreme either. Like, cross the line, the craziest shit you say in this track is anal and gangbangs, and that's it. That's pretty vanilla. Your wild sex fantasy is just basically every college-age straight dude's porn search history. So Kanye's twisted fantasy then tumbles even further down the rabbit hole of sex.
Sex isn't his twisted fantasy, Fantano. His twisted fantasy involves sex, but sex is not his twisted fantasy because he already has it. That's what he's saying. His twisted fantasy is love, and you hear that on Lost in the World, which I'm sure he's going to talk about, and Blame Game.
And love on the track Blame Game, where John Legend's boyish voice, as angelic as it is, does sound a little silly, saying stuff like, I'll call you bitch for short, you call me motherfucker for long. I do love the gently marching snares on this track, though, the string melodies, as well as the super sad piano passage lifted from an Aphex Twin track. But the cherry on top are Kanye's vocals, his rhymes, which depict manically these different pitched and distorted and panned vocals that are arguing their way through this whole situation, this scenario where a love is on the rocks, it's deteriorating. It's pretty tragic in the way that it plays out, and the way that Kanye portrays it is very creative. Now, stopping here, this is a song I could say that I love, despite the handful of little elements that I think about it are just okay. But that's only something I could say if not for the Chris Rock sketch at the end of this track. It is obnoxious.
It is.
It beats the joke to death. And look,
now I understand why it's there. I don't think it really should have been there. It could be a separate interlude. But I do agree. It goes on too long. Like, yeah, it's the phone call that he heard. But I don't know. It is kind of obnoxious. I always skip that part when the song comes on. It's not musical. It's funny. It's Chris Rock, but I don't know.
There are some lines of it that I think are funny, despite the woman on the other end of the
I love like when he's like, Twister had this on and the straws. I love that part.
Line sounding like some kind of weird, obedient sex robot. But ultimately, the issue with the skit is that the tone of it totally upends the sad and dreary vibe of the song to come before it. Plus, it's a very odd transition into the record's very ornate auto-tuned finale, Lost in the World.
Which is so good. Lost in the World's my favorite song on the album.
It's like the way the vocals are arranged on this track. I would say the vocal layering on this track is almost like the complete opposite to how grand and amazing the vocal layering is on Dark Fantasy with Justin Vernon.
Like, bro, the intro of Lost in the World is like, I'm up in the world. It's so good. I think Lost in the World is my favorite song on the album. Especially where it's like, run from the lights, run for your life.
But
It's
Taylor,
so good.
then there's the super cheap and silly, ridiculous verse that Kanye lays into
Oh my God, Fantano. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm going to wait for you to say this.
this track that just has all these just very nonsensical opposites going on. You're my lie, you're my truth, you're my hot, you're my cold.
I don't think he's going to mention it. It's a poem he wrote for Kim. It wasn't originally a song. He turned it into a song. It was originally a poem he wrote for Kim. Oh my God. Did he talk about... He didn't even talk about the poem on Blame Game, which was originally... I forgot her name. Separates the vision of love, hatred, and attitude, terrorists entirely. That's not originally his. That was a poem. Like, this was a poem that he wrote for Kim. This song is about Kim.
For as big and as loud and as harmonious as it's trying to be, it just feels like a whole lot about nothing. And the very end of the record gets even...
It's him finding his fantasy. Kim is the resolution to his fantasy in this story. Kim is the resolution. I think it's the most beautiful outro I think I've ever heard. Lost in the World. And I definitely think you need to reinvest yourself in the Lost in the World.
More
Lost in the
confusing
World
as Kanye delivers this edited version of Gil Scott-Heron's comment number 1 piece. So we have one of the most radical voices in music ever talking some of his most radical shit ever, but it doesn't really link into much of anything the album has been about up until this point. I mean, maybe some of the verses on Gorgeous, but like that's it. Some have tried to say that this piece and Kanye's inclusion of it is like a commentary on where his life is going from here and the outlook is grim. But for me, that very much feels like a stretch. So honestly...
It's not. That's like what it is. Also, the clapping at the end, I think is a beautiful way to end the album, to end an almost perfect album. Basically, Fantano, listen, I agree with some of the stuff you said about this album. Most of the stuff I just don't. Most of the stuff, I think you really need to reinvest yourself into this album. I understand Ye said like this album feels like an apology. I don't agree. I think this album is a dark fantasy. Like, it's him expressing it. I think it's beautiful.
Throwing this poetry...
And I'm not saying I disagree with the creator of the album. Okay, that'd be absurd. But I don't know, just like I think there's a lot deeper meaning to this album. I don't know.
Piece into the end of the record, in my opinion, sounds like trying to force something super meaningful into the finish of this album to give the audience the sense that they've heard something that's way more substantive than it actually...
No, because the album is a poem. Like, in the outro can also be seen as a poem. There's multiple poems on the album. The album itself is a poem. He's writing to his fantasy. He's writing to his future. He's writing to his ego. It is a poem.
He is. So nearly 10 years after my review and the release of this album, and I still think that it starts strong. It finishes super weak. The concept stupid, at best is spotty. And that is partially made up for with solid features, extravagant, amazing, high quality instrumentals. But overall, in my opinion, to put this album in a word, overrated. I am feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it?
I respect you, Fantano, okay? Like, listen. Yeah, you have your way of viewing it. I understand that, okay? I think it's kind of absurd to say it's a 6 out of 10. I mean, you have your reasoning. I do think you need to re-listen and reinvest yourself into this album because there is a lot more to
You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next?
Like, even the meanings, like, I feel like you kind of missed some stuff about the album. I mean, I'm sure... You're probably not going to see this YouTube video, but if you do, I mean, I don't know. Maybe tell me if I am fucking anything up. You know, I'm open-minded to anything, but I just really didn't agree with what you had to say about the album, and most people didn't. And I'm not saying just go with what most people say. The album is overrated for what people say it is. I think a lot of people just don't really understand it that well. A lot of people think they do. Like, I'm not saying it's ball knowledge to understand this album. I think it's kind of easy after a few listens, but I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Fantano, this is not a diss on you at all, but yeah.